Are you aware of the aspects of holistic wellness and how they are influencing your life? Hello, welcome to my show. I'm Andréa Kremposki. I am a holistic health practitioner and a multidimensional intuitive energy healer, and I am here to bridge and mingle the standard holistic natural health, diet, nutrition, exercise, rest, with the spiritual, the mental, the energetic. And I'll tell you a little bit about my background and my experience. My mom was a nurse, and she was always at the health food store, house filled with alternative foods. I don't think we really had cow's milk. We didn't have white flour. We didn't have white sugar. We had all these whole grain flours. She did have a lot of soy milk back in the day. But otherwise, we didn't really drink a lot of milk. And I had someone, a family member, come over to help me bake cookies when I was little and my mom was working. And she called my mom and said, "What's going on here? I don't know how to make cookies. You don't have anything normal." So that is my experience with that. So I've always been familiar with the alternative lifestyle and holistic and wellness and things a little maybe out of the ordinary at the time. And she had a lot of health issues, and she chose the natural route and was always curious because she was curious and thinking about what could be done as well. And she had ended up getting environmental illness and multiple chemical sensitivity after an incident. I'll just say, I'll keep it... I'm getting my program off the air here. And she ended up with severe food allergies. She couldn't go into stores. She couldn't be around perfumes or scents or scented detergents or anything like that. And she was even sensitive to, if you can believe this, electricity. She was allergic to electricity. And we were at a clinic in Erie when I was, how old was I? Like 9 years old. And he was a doctor that worked with environmental illness and people with the same kind of sensitivities. And I heard him say, "I have someone here who's allergic to electricity." And she had to move out of our house, which was 200 yards away from one of those high voltage power lines, the main lines. And she had to be away for a while, but she ended up being able to come back and really prevent the effects that the electricity had on her. And even in the bedroom, the house my dad built, there is a switch on the outside that shuts off all the electricity to the bedroom. That's the light switches, that's the electrical outlets, everything. And we ended up going to an herb lady, a local herb lady, and she was kind of eccentric. And she taught me how to do muscle testing when I was 8 years old. And that's how I first learned to work with energy and feel energy in a hands-on way. And of course, with my mom, she was the kind of person, she would want to find out what was going on, what she could do. And there were all sorts of doctors, all manner of doctors. She went everywhere. I basically spent my childhood living in waiting rooms of doctors' offices. So that brought us to Dr. Jeff. And she was in contact with a lady that had similar issues. And this lady told her that this doctor, who's really good, but he's really weird. And he was a chiropractor, acupuncturist, into nutrition and herbs. And this is where I got introduced to the method of traditional Chinese medicine, meridians, the energy, emotions, and the impact that has on health and presenting symptoms. And he, with his testing, he could do like a reading or a rundown of what may be experienced based on his testing. And his muscle tests were based on like a modified version of Dr. Goodhart. And he would touch acupuncture points, and he would feel if they were weak or strong, and that's how he would know what acupuncture to do. So, everyone knows about chakras. I learned about meridians long before I knew anything about chakras. And the thing with both the meridians and the chakras is there is that emotional connection with the energy and how it functions, and the presenting symptoms that you can see, especially if there's a dysfunction. And my definition of dysfunction is stagnant. That would be energy that's basically stuck or lodged in there somewhere. But you can also have, this is how I think about it, underactive, where not enough energy is feeding the energy system. Then you can have overactive, where there's too much. And a lot of my philosophies and my practice is based around this. The emotional and mental components, influences, those create changes in the body. Connections can be made energetically, chemically, through nutrition and so much more. And physically, our foods, therapies like chiropractic can really have an impact on our energy, because chiropractic does have a huge impact on the nervous system. And nervous system is the fastest messenger, and that feeds the energy system. And the next fastest is the hormones. And it takes a little longer, but if you think about the nervous system and everything that it can impact, even if you are familiar with cranial nerves, how that can impact health. And we hear a lot about the vagus nerve now. I've known about it a long time, and now I'm seeing so many videos, so much material on stress and the vagus nerve and how that impacts the body. It impacts digestion, sleep, skin, and hiatal hernia. There's a test you can do for breathing, and you can see how your ribs are expanding, and you can see this in the hiatal hernia. The people experiencing that is there'll be either lopsided movement where there's no movement in one side, or it's like the ribs aren't moving in the correct way. And that can be from tension or a whole multitude of things. I went off on a tangent. Okay, let me rein it back in. Now, if you get me talking about this stuff, I mean, we can be here for a long time. So, when it comes to the body systems, in the Dr. Goodhart method, applied kinesiology, and even into traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, there are three major areas, and that would be structure, chemistry, and energy. And structure is, of course, the body. If you have a subluxation, say, in a vertebrae, that can affect energy to certain parts of the body. And like lungs, organs. And I have a chart on that, and it has all the vertebrae and what that innervation is connected to as far as parts of the body, organs, tissue. And it's really interesting because then you see how chiropractic really has more of an influence other than just cracking a back and putting something back in place. It really is an impact on the nervous system. So today, that's a little about me and my experience and a bit of my philosophy and practice. And I do the nutrition, I do the herbs, I do food recommendations, and I do this all through muscle testing and symptoms survey to see. So it gives people an idea of what's going on in the body, where the weak and strong areas are. All right, so aspects of holistic wellness. And basically there's 5, but I added more. Number 1, body, and this would be physical. These are your symptoms, your signs, the body system function, all pretty standard, the basic health of the body, the structure, the function. And we have physical movement and exercise, that's important. And you got your chemistry, your labs, your nutrition, your food, your pH, how your body is working. And like I said, an injury in the body, anywhere on the body, that can cause a blockage. It can cause an issue that you may not be fully aware of. You may think, okay, that healed. But as far as the foundations go, it can interrupt an energy flow. It can interrupt a meridian, just like scar tissue. Scar tissue, if you cut through a meridian, and you may experience some difficulty, and there's a way to weave a way to say it is the broken wires, bring them back together, make them recognize each other again. And that's some healing, and that's what some acupuncturists can do. And also craniosacral, massage, any modality that you use physically on the body. The physical body is the tool for healing. And we have our mind, our mood, our disposition, our beliefs, psychological aspects, stress, constantly thinking about past or future. And look at all the stress we have. We know that the mind can have such a big impact on our wellness. It can take our wellness away, but it can also be a catalyst. You hear the people with the positive thought that have healing and they just keep their mind positive. Then you have the people who, oh yeah, I'm just getting old, this is what we do, that's how it goes. And you can have 2 people that are the same age, maybe had similar lives, but one looks very different than the other. And, there's a lot of factors at play too. Deeper levels, but mind and belief, there is a key aspect. Our emotions. And again, we have stress, we have fear, anger, worry, happiness, faith, trust, resentment, hate, peacefulness, grief. Emotions are very, very powerful. You can have a very strong emotion create a neuropathway in the body that changes the function. And this is one of the things that I've gotten into is you may not understand, okay, this event happened, then a few weeks later, a few months later, I started having this symptom. And that's one of the reasons why I interview my clients and I talk to them a lot. What was happening in this time when you started experiencing the issue? So you dive into that, you look what was going on. And even TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, the meridians all have emotions that are associated with them. And I won't go into those today. I might do another show all about a run through of meridians. But like grief is major, and that is associated with lung meridian. And I do believe that's true. I'm just going from my mind on this one. And there it is. It's in your chest, and you can have people experience different diseases through the chest that are associated with the lungs, different issues associated with the lung meridian, and it's all the emotions: fear, anger, worry. Anger is typically associated with liver meridian and also depression. So there you have the slow, sluggish side of depression. Then you have the hot, fiery anger. And I'll rein it in a little bit, and I'll do that on a different one. All right, support. We all need some sort of support. It's hard to do things alone. Not saying it's impossible, but to have people there for you. We are social creatures. Some of us introverts would dispute that, but ultimately humans are pack animals. We are community-based. We're social-based. We depend on our family bands from the time people were created. Our tribes, our people, and that was our survival. And if there was an issue, people would come to their aid. And we don't see that a lot now. We're so individualized and compartmentalized. I remember when I was young, we kind of knew we had family in the neighborhood, and everyone visited, and there was something social and like a foundation for that. So even if you are a loner or an introvert, is there support for you in a traditional or non-traditional way? And that can be anything. That can be just someone you confide in. Do you feel understood? Do you feel seen? Do you feel heard? Are there activities that make you feel good? And one of the things about feeling seen and feeling heard, I think ultimately we want to be understood. We want to know someone gets us, and not that we have to censor ourselves or edit ourselves or constantly put on this mask or please others. And there's an aspect of that which it allows you to be authentic and knowing someone is there for you. All right, our next one is energetic. This is the wellness of the energy systems, and this has a wide array of categories. We have our aura, which is like this energetic bubble around the body, and there are several layers to it. In my training, we're taught to recognize the various layers, and basically there's 7 that you work with the physical body, but there are many more. And you have the odd numbered ones tend to be more physical oriented, and the odd ones tend to be more emotional, abstract, or spiritual. We have the hara, and this is aligned with our purpose. We were taught to see it as a hara line, and it is the energy system that our full energy system grows out of. It's like the beginning, and it is rooted in the lower danxian, and that is under the belly button. And people who know the sacral chakra would be familiar with the area, and it is life force. It's our grounding into our purpose in the earth. And we have our chakras, and basically there are 7 chakras on the physical body, and each chakra aligns with a layer of the field of the aura. But there are also chakras off the body, below the feet and above the head. Right below the feet, that is the Earth Star. Above the crown, about 12 inches, is our Soul Star, and there's more above that. And meridians, like I was telling you earlier, are connected to the mind and emotions, and as well, the chakras are as well. All right, and for empaths, are you drained? Are you managing your energy field? Think about people in situations that drain you or fill you up. They like fuel you. And boundaries can play a role here too. So think about people that you are around, or situations that you're around, and you just feel that you're in that person's energy, or you were around that person, and it's just like, man, I feel totally tapped out. Or do you feel energized? And with boundaries, are you giving too much of your energy away? Are you allowing people to take from you energetically? These would be considered energy vampires. And how are you upholding your space, your boundaries? Because some people are take, and there's not an equal exchange. I'm not saying that we're transactional, I give you a little and you must give me in return, but naturally there's equal and opposite, give and take. And when someone takes too much, it can drain you. Also, they can project their stuff onto you, and I am empathic and I can take on too much of other people's stuff. So there's a practice that you can do as you're going to sleep, where you, as you're going to sleep, you're relaxed. Think about the energy that you lost or have given away or interacted with people. Imagine calling that back into you. Your energy that is yours, that is rightfully yours, bring it back in. And what's not yours, you can say, return it to whom it belongs to, or you can say, allow it to be transmuted to the highest best wherever it needs to go. And imagine your energy field shiny, happy, smooth, nothing attached, no hooks, no parasites. Energetic parasites can drain you. And I don't mean literal parasites. There are thought forms, our worries that can drain us as well. And that kind of goes back into emotions and mind. So everything on this list that I'm talking about, everything goes and interacts with each other. All right, we are at environment and the conditions around you. Environment in the rural area, it's going to be different than a city environment. You might have more stress, a hurried culture. Rural might be more relaxed, more open, more at ease. And I'm oversimplifying that a little bit just for example. And think about the area that you're in, the social, economic. Is it a poor area? Does it identify as a poorer area that people just feel like overall they can't get ahead, this is the way it is, and that can impact you? Businesses that leave an area can impact the environment. And of course, clean water, clean air, clean ground, that is all a factor as well. Spiritual. This can be a religious or spiritual practice, and for non-believers, it can be simply a trust and a confidence that you're supported, things are going to work out, you're okay. And how is it fulfilling you? How are you fulfilled on the deeper level? Even if you're not a believer, what is the deeper level of satisfaction, of pleasure, of joy, of happiness? And happiness, pleasure, joy, that's not an outside job, that's an inside job. And once again, we circle back up to the other categories, the beliefs and the mind and your disposition, emotions, body. Oh, and body can also be the amount of toxins that you've taken on or have problems eliminating. And back to spiritual, does it help you through your hard times? And like I said, it can be a religious practice, it can be beliefs, it can be prayers. It can be meditation. It can be chanting and humming. All right, and lifestyle. To me, lifestyle is the way a person puts everything together. It's how they live. Are they abusing their body? Are they honoring their body? Do they allow themselves time to rest and recover? Are you aware of what you're putting in your body? Are you aware of taking care of your body? And how you manage stress? It's basically an overview of everything that you do all put together. What is your career? Do you have balance in life or work? Life and work. Does work take over? Is it constantly striving to survive, or do you make time for thriving and pleasure and just being at ease? And this leads to, what is your satisfaction? What is your satisfaction? Take a moment now. Think about how satisfied you are. Right now, there's a lot of areas. There's a couple areas in particular that could be better as far as satisfaction goes. I mean, there's always going to be something that's a little bit off kilter, and that can change over time, whether it's how you're relating to family, how you're relating to your job, what's taking up your time, are there issues going on? And another one that I stuck in here is rest, sleep. The body needs sleep to rebuild, to recover, and we need our dream time. The stages of sleep are very important. That time we spend, the mind processes. We might not even remember your dreams, but that is important. And sleep allows the body, it's like shutdown time. It allows the gut to regenerate. I mean, you can't, sleep is one of those things you can't replace. It just has to be. Like when my dad was in the hospital for a procedure and they have him rest, but there's always someone coming in to check on you, take your vitals, poke you with something. As he would complain about it. He's like, I can't rest. Then when he came home, he was like 3 days of solid sleeping. He was like, oh, Dad, are you okay? And sleep and the quality of sleep, that's going to vary by person to person. But that seems to be like one of the things we cut short. That, and we skimp on the food, don't we? Those really get cut when we're trying to survive. So rest, sleep. If you are a human design manifester like me, rest is essential. Do not think you can get out of sleep. I've had sleep deprivation as many years I spent as a caregiver, and for probably a year I got 2 hours of interrupted sleep for a stretch of time. My mind was like splat. I got a weird blotchy rash that I thought, if this starts spreading down my arms, people are going to think I have a weird disease. But it all came from sleep deprivation. And the thing is, when you have sleep deprivation for long term like this, and caregivers, you know what I'm talking about. After you get sleep and you maybe get normal for a while, if you have any sleep deprivation after that, it can really impact you, like even years and years after being a caregiver. If I have a severe sleep deprivation or interruption, it wrecks me for days, maybe even weeks, if I don't get it under control. So that's me recognizing myself. So those are the categories that I came up with for this one. I'm not a my one way is how all of you should do it kind of person. My practice is that everyone is biochemical and bioenergetically individual. My role as a healer, helper, is to discover what that individual can get the most benefit from and help them have the awareness of what works for them. And the aspects that I went over today all can interplay and affect the others. Intersect, that's a new word. And that's where the holistic principle is. You can't compartmentalize one and think it's not going to have an effect. If you're going through grief, if you're going through stress, if you're going through a complete breakdown, that a total dark night, like you're freaking out, you're in the bathroom scream crying, that can affect skin, it can affect your digestion, elimination. And this one's hard to explain because there's no way to say this can just be isolated. Everything has an effect on other things. Everything goes back and intermingles, intermeshes. And as an example, someone feels unsupported, misunderstood, and then they have thoughts that no one is here, no one cares. And like when I was talking about the support earlier, and the emotions of sorrow, despair. Oh, despair is a huge, heavy, dense energy that can really affect you. Depression and more. Those can all take a toll on the physical body, and they can create symptoms. And it may not be just, I was angry for like an hour at this issue. I mean the more long-term ones, or something that really makes an impact in your life and just rattles you to your core. And it can have an energetic cause too, where a dysfunction of the energy flow creates the conditions to get to that point. All right. I think I explained that well. Energy flow creates conditions to get to that point. Yeah. Now I'm really oversimplifying. I am so detailed in getting into all this. It's hard to put it in like a nutshell presentation. But there can be baseline energetic causes which can affect the chemistry. Then chemistry causes a change in the body. And you can see this you can certainly see it in stress. And stress has the ability to have an impact faster in some cases. okay, now what can you do? This is where self-awareness, looking at patterns, helps to work with what's going on as clues, as guides, instead of fighting with it. What is really going on here? What's the root cause? What's the source? If we go to the source, then we influence the whole downline. And it makes this unique and very, very individualized. One person may respond to therapeutic solutions differently than another. Like just meditating, deep breathing, and journaling might have this wonderful impact on one person, but then barely budge the issue on another person, for an example. That's why people said this method worked and the other one didn't. So let me see, how do I want to explain this? There are many methods, many tools available, but every person is going to have a different result with it. And that doesn't mean one thing is wrong or bad for one person or another. Or there, in my world, in my mind, there's just no blanket coverage that can solve everyone's problems. I mean, with one person that a method didn't work on, there may be a serious root cause going back to birth or being in utero. Yeah, and that is what we look at in character structures. And I want to talk about that as well, because those are defense mechanisms. It's who you really aren't, but it's who you become under stress. And there are psychological aspects of that in characterizations, and that's really interesting. But again, reining it back in. Essentially, what you're doing when you're looking at all the aspects and what works for you, what's going on, what's the root cause, you're looking at it like a puzzle or a map, and you're seeing what works. And you're learning how all those pieces fit together. So instead of taking one puzzle piece and saying, I wonder why there's a flat side there and a curved side there, you're seeing how that worked in to the whole picture. So simultaneously, you're pinpointing in, but you're also looking at the whole picture. Once you look at this, you get a picture of what can help you and help you shift into your healthiest state. And that may be from a practitioner, maybe from an energy healer, it may be from a therapist, it may be from a doctor, it may be from a chiropractor. Did I say energy healer? Shameless plug for my business. And it may come from self-awareness. Awareness. One person I had a session with also said that as we look into things, we were talking about inner child and how wounding as a child can affect our behavior, our emotions, how we interact with other people, and also, I would say, health and wellness. Awareness, being aware of what you're doing, why you're doing it, that can cause a huge shift as well. I think we covered a lot. I think I went into professor mode or something here. I hope this information and this show helped you. I hope it brought you some insight. I hope it gave you something to think about. And I have more lined up. I have a huge idea board of what I want to get into. What I have coming up is voice and expression and empowerment through voice, and how that does have an effect on the health and the body, and I will get into it there. I have anger, I have shamanic healing, I have dark night of the soul, I have when we go through challenges. I'm a shamanic practitioner. My energy healing teacher she learned shamanism from various places in South America and even in the East. So I have practices from that. I have bereavement and loss. Relationship is a key component. And let's see what else. Yeah, I'm constantly coming up with ideas to help you, inform you, and hopefully you make the best of the life you have and the time we have it. Because truly, even when things are going to crap and you think it's miserable and the world is awful, there's always hope. There's always a way to turn things around. I know I have gone through things that would probably do other people in, but you're still upright, you're still walking around, and you haven't given up. Sometimes it feels like you want to, and I think that's part of the shamanic crisis. God, I gotta keep staying on point here. Anyway, I'm planning more shows. Tune in. I am planning guests. I have a wonderful guest. We'll talk about the relationship, our intuition, healing. All right. 47 minutes in. We're going to wrap. So if you are interested in any sessions with me and what I offer and more about me, information that I put out, everything is linked. I have a website, DrémariHolisticWellness.net. I have various sessions available, from energy work to light language, essence retrieval, and a reflection session where you basically have authentic expression, no judgment, and I give you tools and methods to help you on your way, because we're not just listening here. I want to make sure that you have a foundation that you can take home. And homework. I like to give people homework, whether it be points or work that they can do for themselves. All right. This is like when you are trying to hang up the phone. You hang up first. You hang up first. No, you hang up first. So anyway, I'm Andréa. Thank you for joining me in this show. I will catch you next time.